John Wilkes Booth was born on May 10, 1838, in Bel Air, Maryland. His death was on April 26, 1865. The place where he died was Port Royal, Virginia. As a young man, John attended several private schools, including a boarding school operated by Quakers. During the 1850s, young Booth apparently became a know-nothing in politics. Eventually, he left school after his father died in 1852. His goal was to become a famous actor like his father was farming at the time. Description: John Wilkes Booth stood 5'8". He had jet black hair, ivory skin, was lean and athletic. In the late summer of 1864, Booth began making plans to kidnap Lincoln. The president would be seized, taken to Richmond, and held in exchange for Confederate soldiers in Union prison camps. Within several months, Booth recruited Michael, Samuel, Lewis, John, David, and George. Some of the conspirators began to melt away because they didn't think the plan would work. Booth also had plans to seize and kidnap Lincoln inside a theater, but they all fell through. In the evening before the assassination, Booth went to Ford's Theater and practiced his plan for the day of the assassination. The only thing he didn't practice was the leap off the stage. He also drilled a small hole in the door behind Lincoln so he could have a good view of the back of Lincoln's head. Booth also had one more meeting with his conspirators that night. The plan was for Powell to kill Secretary Seward. Then Harold would lead Powell to Seward's house and help him escape. Also, Exort would kill Vice President Johnson. All the attacks would happen at 10:15. Then they would all meet at the Navy Yard Bridge. Booth was carrying his single-shot pistol and a hunting knife with him.
On April 14, 1865, Lincoln attended a play at the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. John Wilkes Booth, a popular actor in the South, crept into the president's box and shot Lincoln in the head. Major Henry Rathbone, also sitting in the state box, began wrestling with the assassin, and Booth pulled out his knife and stabbed Rathbone in the left arm. After shooting Lincoln, he then jumped off the stage and landed heavily on his left leg, snapping his ankle in the process. While running away, Booth yelled, "Thus always with tyrants," in Latin. A horse was waiting for Booth, and he escaped from the theater. Lincoln died the next morning, and Vice President Andrew Johnson was now President of the United States. Booth and some conspirators ran to the Deep South. On the way to the South, they were hidden by sympathizers. 12 days after Lincoln's assassination, Booth and some of his men were hiding in a barn when Federal troops arrived. Booth would not surrender, so the Federal troops caught the barn on fire to try to chase them out. Everybody cleared out of the barn besides Booth, whom they shot in the back through a crack of the barn. Lincoln's death shocked the nation, but the assassin did suffer for his crimes.